Good morning. I'm KhishaBrijon, along here with the king of LA sports, Richard Lopez. We thank you for joining us today on the Takeover. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, let's move on to the NFL draft,
Let's do it.
which was in New York this weekend, and it was definitely some shockers in the draft.
This was the first year where we weren't sure who was going to be picked number 1 overall. It was a toss-up. Geno, anyone was going to be picked, but I made predictions of my top 5, and I got the first one right. I picked Eric Fisher to be taken number 1 by the Chiefs, and he was. So that was good for me, but there was some big surprise. What were your kind of surprises?
My surprises came down to Barkley being chosen number 98, the Cardinals picking up Tyrann Mathieu, and the fact that the Bills took E.J. Manuel over Geno Smith. That was probably my biggest shocker, because all the days leading up to the draft, you heard how Geno Smith fits perfectly into the Bills' offense, how he fits every need the Bills have, and for them to pass on him to take E.J. Manuel was kind of a shocker.
Yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop. I was expecting not a quarterback to be taken somewhere in the first round, but I wasn't expecting it to be him.
Right.
Yeah, so, but I mean, maybe they see him, they met him, maybe he has good character. I don't know the guy. So there has to be something that made the Bills think that he was a standout.
Better fit.
Yeah.
Better fit than Geno Smith. Well, Geno Smith, he actually ended up with the Jets. He was the number 39 pick overall. And it just adds one more quarterback to the long list of Jets quarterback, with them releasing Tim Tebow earlier this morning. Now they have 5 quarterbacks, which is still probably 3 more than any other team has on their roster. But Geno might be the only rookie quarterback taken in the draft that might actually start week 1 of the season.
Because it looks like Sanchez might get released.
I mean, you have to take a look at Sanchez's history. The 4 years that he's been with the Jets, his first year was his best year.
Yeah, by far.
Sophomore, junior, senior year, somewhere between garbage and great. Closer to garbage than great.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, 26 takeovers last year, including that infamous butt fumble.
Yeah, that's. I think it's still on
ESPN. Still number 1 on ESPN, right?
That's great. It's gonna be the longest reigning.
And not to mention, he takes up a lot of their cap space. He takes up about 12 million, 13 million of their cap space. He's guaranteed about 8, 9 million this year, and he has a $500,000 sign-in bonus, workout bonus.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to think about as far as keeping Sanchez, and he's just not productive. He's not productive. With Geno Smith, you have a very mobile quarterback. He has a strong arm. He will fit good into the West Coast scheme. So why not? Why not use him? You have David Garrard there to develop him as a older quarterback. So why not use the talent that you have? Why go out and pick him as a number 39 in your number 39 slot if you're not going to use him?
They might make some noise this year.
They might. We'll see. But the Jets are known for big talk and no show. So let's see what happens. We don't want to count them in too quickly.
Who were your winners? Who would you say were the winners?
As far as the draft goes, I would say the 49ers were my favorite, or who had the best draft of 2013, and that's because I feel that they filled all 5 spots that they needed within their first 5 draft picks. They picked up the safety Eric Reed out of LSU to take over Golson's spot. They picked up Cornelius Cordain, Vance McDonald, Corey Lamone. So they definitely filled what needed to be addressed in their offense. And then we have Marcus Lattimore, who they picked up, which to me is the luxury pick. It was the steal of the draft, and it fits perfect for both the Niners and Lattimore because they have Frank Gore already. So there's no need to rush him into the offense. They can redshirt him, let him rehab for a year or 2 and slowly work him into the lineup. There's no need to put him in there, within the first season of him being on the team. So to me, the Niners.
The Niners have also LaMichael James, still the running back from Oregon, and look for him to make some noise. So Lattimore will probably rest this year, which is good. But before he got hurt, he was my number 1 overall running back going into the draft.
He was everyone's overall
he was by
running
far
back.
ahead.
He has talent, but I think what happened with him, the injury, the way he handled it, being injured twice, same leg, same knee, shows his resilience, shows his endurance, and shows his desire to play in the game. And you can't do anything but honor or admire that.
I mean, Yeah, so those Niners did very well.
I think they did. I think they all guaranteed their spot back in the playoffs this year. So,
like I was saying, the Jets did well, but my team that I think did well were the Vikings. The Vikings, they came and they they drafted Sharif Floyd, who was supposed to go number 2 overall on a lot of people's boards. They took him at pick number 23.
So they got him at a deal.
Yeah, they got him at a deal. And then they started playing some ball, with, making some moves, and then they drafted cornerback Xavier Rose out of Florida State, who is another good cornerback. And then they had Percy Harvin's replacement drafted Cordell Patterson, who is as explosive as Percy Harvin, if not more than Percy Harvin. So those are that's who I think did well, were the Vikings, because they played the game. They did good. That was good GM work making those trades, and because they had certain spots to fill, and I believe they filled them.
They filled those spots.
But how about draft losers?
Draft losers, some would say the Cardinals. I actually have a different take on that, with them drafting Tyrann Mathieu.
Oh, I think that was
was a great move. I really do. They take him at number 69, and a lot of people say it was a risky move because he was out of football for a year because of the failed drug testing, the marijuana possession, somewhat troubled past. But I think he fits well into that system because he goes where he has people he knows. He has Patrick Patterson, he has Kevin Minter, and then he has Fitzgerald, who can be another mentor type to him, as well as Bruce Arians as the coach, who's been known to hold you accountable for your actions, and I think that's what he needs to keep him on the straight path. So I actually think that's a good look. People say it's risky, that they may have shot themselves in the foot with that pick, but people tend to forget that he was he was a defensive player of the year. He was an All-American. He had 11 forced fumbles, which was 7th in the the NCAA, and all-time at LSU. And he's a force to be reckoned with anytime he puts his hand on the ball. So, troubled pass. I think in this particular situation, the good outweighs the bad.
Yeah, he was going into the year where he got kicked off. He was supposed to be. He was a Heisman, the candidate.
Right,
he was
2011 and Heisman finalist.
Above all his talent, we forget sometimes he's still a young kid. I actually thought about it, and as far as other losers in the draft, at first I thought the Dallas Cowboys, but they only shocked me with their first round pick. It was a center that was supposed to be projected to go in the 3rd round. So that one threw me for a loop, and I thought, here we go again. Jerry Jones is going to make some crazy decisions. And then they got B.J. Webb, a cornerback that fell deep into the draft, and the Cowboys desperately needed a corner, and they got a corner. So the first round pick was questionable for me, but everything else after that was a good move by the staff. So, I mean, everyone, I think, did their part. There wasn't too many big losers in the draft, I think. I think, usually the Raiders are the big losers, but they actually played smart this year. They got this exactly what I thought. I mean, I should be a GM. That's what I was telling myself. They need to trade down to get more picks, and that's exactly what they did. They moved down to get Taylor Hayden out of Houston.
I saw his story the other night. What an amazing story. Amazing story. Amazing comeback story. So I'm actually rooting for him. Not a Raiders fan, but I'm actually rooting for him.
Yeah, I mean, how could he's a young kid go through that? How could you not root for him? That's a good heartfelt story right there.
The Eagles came out on top 2 with Matt Barkley. I was surprised that he went 98th. Especially when he was projected to go number 1 last year, but he did himself a disservice by not coming out last year. He put up good numbers this past season, but he put up great numbers the season prior to that. His quarterback rating was 4% higher. He had half the interceptions that he had, 255 more yards, a better completion percentage. And plus, SC just had a mediocre season last year. But wow, man, what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, before we move on, let me get back to the Cowboys real quick. The Cowboys, actually, their draft picks, I forget the guy's name is Gavin Escobar, and they also drafted a explosive receiver, Terrence Williams, out of Baylor, and Brandon Webb, like I said. And the first round pick was very questionable when it was Travis Frederick, but what the reports I hear on him is no Wisconsin linemen that are drafted ever turn out as a bust, really. They're usually good linemen. So, hey, I mean, at first I thought they did bad, but in the end, they probably did all right. you know.
Well, only time can tell. You know, the Cowboys are very good at having the best team on paper, and then they just don't produce. So hopefully they can pull it together this season and actually live up to that all-star roster that they have.
And a side note, Manti Te'o was taken by the San Diego Chargers.
Right, trying to relive their Junior Seau days.
Junior Seau. Hopefully Lene Kakua doesn't show up to the games.
Well, you know, he said he thought it was a hoax when they called him on his cell phone and he saw a California area code. But he thought he was being hoaxed again.
Oh, poor
guy. I was like, here we go again. Oh, poor Manti. He's never going to live that down. Well, that is all we have for you today at the Takeover. We thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. Take care.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
I got to sign off. I'm the King of LA Sports, Richard Lopez. You can find me on Twitter, Rich Lopez, KOLASE. On Instagram, The King of LA Sports, and my YouTube channel, The King of LA Sports. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.